Drill instructors slash drill sergeants of Reddit. What's the funniest thing you've seen a recruit do that you couldn't laugh at? In my basic training class, I was a squad leader, which is essentially just a person who does extra chores. Anyway, for reasons unknown, myself and the other squad leaders were doing push-ups in the drill sergeant's office. Now, when you do these push-ups, you eventually reach muscle failure, so you just sort of hang out there in the front leaning rest and try to bust out another push-up every few seconds or so. We're all in there dying, and the drill sergeant says to one of my buddies, "Private Hudson, tell me what's the difference between basic training and being in prison?" Without missing a beat, Private Hudson says, "Drill sergeant, in prison they get to watch TV." The drill sergeant cracked a little bit of a smile and then told us to get up and get out of there. Private Hudson is spitting. As far as I'm concerned, 100% right. And hey, even the drill sergeant had respect for it. Story 2. Boot camp. Had a kid with glasses. Very young. Did not look like marine material. He kept glancing up at planes overhead during drill. DI noticed and asked him what he was looking at. Kid replies, "Airplanes, drill instructor." DI said, "Those planes are trying to invade, and only you can stop them. I want to hear you war cry at every plane until it leaves this depot." Remainder of phase 1 of boot camp consisted of this kid screaming at every plane overhead. Hilarity ensued. Story 3. We had this kid who kept peeing himself. One day after the range, he informs our DI that he had crapped himself right after showers. Squad base starts to hold back laughter. DI, "It's not funny." Awkward silence. "Okay, it's a little funny, but we aren't laughing." Man never cracked a smile during the whole thing. Story 4. Early in boot in MCRDSD, we were post-shower and at attention for the hygiene inspection, wearing nothing but skivvies and t-shirts. The DI is walking the line checking fingernails and whatnot, and one private's hard-on flops out of his skivvies right as the DI passes him. The DI stops, looks the private in the eye and says, "Private, I don't even like you. Much less like you that way. Now put that goddamn thing away before it goes off." The private in question turned purple with embarrassment, tried to stuff his little soldier back in his skivvies, but is getting flustered as the DI starts yelling at him for being an incompetent private, and that if he didn't get it stowed in 3 seconds, the private would be taking a 10-minute cold shower. Things like, "Do I have to hose you down like an excited chihuahua? Should I call the vet? Good God, private, is that how you greet your mother at night? Stow your gear, goddammit." Every other private in line was trying not to laugh, and the SDI had retreated to his office where we could hear him howling with laughter. The private finally gets his junk stowed, and the DI resumes inspection. You could see he was trying his damnedest not to bust out laughing. No one got much sleep that night. There were too many gigglers in their bunks and too many quiet one-liners. I have a feeling you guys are going to be hearing a lot of the same voice, by the way. I don't have a lot of drill sergeant voices. I'm sorry. Like, just listen to my voice. In that direction, I simply don't have much range. Sorry. Story 5. One recruit left his training guide just lying on his rack. My lead RDC decided this was punishable by making the recruit stand in the middle of our berthing, hold the training guide in the left hand, salute it with the right hand, and then bring it in and gently whisper, "I love you, training guide. I'm sorry I left you out. I'll never leave you lying around again." That crap was hilarious, especially because we were all put at attention while he did it for 45-ish minutes. Story 6. In Navy boot camp, they called forced PT beatings. Everyone knows what a beating is. Navy doesn't have drill instructors, they call them RDCs, recruit division commanders. One day, standing in ranks, the RDC is going around asking random trivia questions about a test we had to take to make sure we had been studying. He gets to a guy who was eccentric to say the least. This is about a month and a half in a boot camp. RDC asks the question, guy gets it wrong, so RDC yells, "Nope, wrong, beat yourself." Literally everyone knew this meant start doing push-ups, so the expectation is that he'll start doing push-ups as the RDC moves to the next guy to ask a question. I was standing across from the guy and he had a confused look on his face. He looked at his own hand for 5 seconds, then hauled off and slapped himself in the face. It made a loud crack sound. He got himself good. I cracked and chuckled trying to keep composure at attention. The RDC looked to me, then realized why I laughed, and turned to the slapping sound. He asked him if he had slapped himself, and the guy says, You told me to beat myself." Cue the entire barracks cracking up. It was a single moment during boot camp where the curtain was raised and a moment of unadulterated levity came over everyone. The RDC couldn't stop laughing, so the tough guy jerk persona melted away for a good minute, until he regained composure and made us all do push-ups. The push-ups were an easy price to pay for that moment. Story 6. Not me, but I had a great team sergeant who had a floater, wonky eye, and he was blind in it from an injury in Iraq. So one eye was dead on and worked fine, but he had this one Uncle Ruckus eye that just did its own thing. He was a very physically imposing man, with that classic drill sergeant bass-filled voice, and his crazy eye just added to it, and he knew. He told a story about his time as a drill sergeant when 2 privates had sat down on fire watch, and were kinda just being real lackadaisical about their duties when he found them. So he starts giving them the business, classic Full Metal Jacket style. And finally, when he's ending his rant right before he's about to smoke them for who knows how long, one of the offending privates just says, "Drill sergeant, are you yelling at us or the water fountain?" It stopped him dead in his rage, and he just walked away. Story 8. Never was a drill sergeant, but when I was going through a US Army Infantry School, 2004, we were taking showers, when one of the drills came in and called us to toe the line. When I got out of the shower, I found someone had stolen my PT uniform and towel, so I grabbed my shaving cream and covered my dong in cream and then walked out to my bunk. The drill came up to ask me what the hell I thought I was doing. I told him my clothes and towel were gone, so I did the next best thing. He said, "You know what? You're gonna do all right in the infantry." Story 9. Story from my wife while she was in BCT. There he eating chow one day early on, maybe first or second day out of reception, and they hear a drill sergeant yelling, "Why the hell are you eating salad with a spoon?" Apparently in reception they'd been told to not bother with forks since they had 5 minutes to eat their meal. Dude wanted a salad, so he decided, screw it, I'm eating salad with a spoon. Hilarity ensued. Drill instructors let everyone know that not using forks is a dumb freaking rule, and whoever told them that is stupid. Story 10. We had two 5'1" stocky blonde guys named Johnson in our company one cycle. Different platoons, no relation at all, but they looked really similar. One day during grass week, a couple of J-hats made them face each other and go back and forth screaming, "You're not Johnson, I'm Johnson!" "No, screw you, you're not Johnson, I'm Johnson!" You have absolutely no clue how hard it was not to break into a million pieces after about 5 minutes of that. I see no other reason to make people do this than pure comedy. So clearly the J-hats, whatever that means, I don't know, had a sense of humor at the very least. Story 11. We weren't allowed to talk during chow at the galley. You had to point at what you wanted another recruit to pass, and they had to silently pass it. One recruit wanted a napkin and pointed. The other recruit asked, "This?" The CCs, Coast Guard DS, immediately came over, circling him like sharks, screaming at him. They made him put like 10 saltines in his mouth and chew until his mouth was full, then asked the first recruit if he wanted a napkin again. He could barely get it out, spitting pieces of cracker everywhere. Then they screamed at the first recruit to answer him, but we were all silently cracking up. The exchange sounded like this. Pieces of saltine flying out. "Answer him!" And the other guy cracking up, almost crying. No, thank you. It was the best. Sadly, I don't have 10 saltines on hand right now, or I would have done a much better job with that. Sorry. Story 12. Not in boot camp, but in a school setting in the military. In formation one morning, I heard a slap, and a guy had gotten a fly or a mosquito or something. The instructor started screaming that corpsmen do not take lives unless defending themselves, or defending their Marines or patients. He had just taken the life of an unarmed friendly and will give it a proper burial, so he made us all dig a human-sized grave while the sailor, who took the fly's life, stood there watching with a dead fly in hand. We gave it a funeral and everything without honors, and had to fill in the hole. We kinda hated that guy for a while. Story 13. Not a DI. When I went through basic, they gave everyone a flashlight with a lime green yellow thing on the end that you had to have with you in the morning for PT. Well, one individual forgot his when we had all lined up in the morning, and didn't say anything until we walked over to the PT pad. The TI began to berate him, calling him an idiot, making him run back to the bunks and retrieve it. Before he leaves, the TI yells, "If anyone stops you, just tell them you're an idiot." Well, a TI was across the street and saw him running back to the bunks and saw the trainee all by himself, so he starts laying into him. We could all hear him on the PT pad until the trainee got a chance to respond with, "Sir, trainee so-and-so reports as ordered. I am an idiot." The TI walked away and didn't say anything. Edit. I have another story actually about this exact airman. Near the end of basic training, depending on your TI, you might get what is called an amnesty hour. It's everyone who has been in basic with you and your TI basically talking to you like a normal person again. Well, our TI opened the floor for questions, and the first kid to raise his hand was the kid who forgot the flashlight. During all of basic when I was there, a rumor was going around that a TI had posed for Playboy. Now, it was a rumor, but no one could go on a computer to Google it because it's BMT. The airman stood up and asked, straight face, "Sir, is it true a TI posed for Playboy?" Our TI just laughed and confirmed the rumor. And he asked again, "Sir, did you meet this TI?" Our TI responds with, "No, but if I did, I would be tapping that." Without missing a beat, the short, skinny kid from Tennessee says, "Thank you for not hitting it so that the rest of us don't fall in it." I cried laughing.